the next year is going to go by whether you're doing something about your life or not. And they may think, oh my God, I'm so far overweight, I'll never get it under control, or I'm so behind in my bills, or I'm so, just depressed, or everything is so out of control. Well, you know what? You make those incremental changes, and then, pretty soon in December you go, hey, I'm way better off than I was at the end of February. So you made little changes and they all added up. And if you don't, by the end of the year, you're just in deeper. So every little bit matters. Did you do what you said you were going to do by this time? And if you don't, hold your feet to the fire. Because, just sitting around dreaming someday, someday I'm going to get a different job. Someday I'm going to change this. Well, someday ain't a day of the week. There's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Look on your calendar. Some days not on there. So you got to say, okay, I'm going to take this small step by here, this small step by there, this small step by there. And then pretty soon, we don't leap tall buildings in a single bound. We take it a floor at a time.
What has been a lesson you wish you learned earlier in life?
Being unapologetically honest with what you want. And that goes across the board. I was trying to think of something that kind of crossed the board. If you can communicate your truth and not worry so much about how somebody's going to react to what you say. Because a lot of times the fear of how somebody's going to react to what you really want to say is what stops you from saying it sometimes, and you find another way, or you put it off, or you don't say it, and then maybe the situation doesn't change. And you get frustrated and upset with why this thing doesn't change, because you kind of maybe might not have said it the way you wanted to say it, and I think there's a way to be unapologetically and still be respectful.
When you had that third failure in a row, did you think, I need to pack this in?
Never.
Why not?
I don't ever give up.
Don't let life stop you from living life. All that you feel, all that you're carrying, all that you've seen, all that you've heard, all that you've been exposed to, all of those experiences, they are all very, very real. You may not be telling people about them, but you're thinking about them, you're carrying it, you're processing, you're triggered by it. It's all still there. But do yourself a favor.
If you want to be anything special and last for a long time, it comes with discipline. Discipline. Really understanding the word of discipline and sticking to it. If you really understand that, you'll be fine. Most of these guys don't have discipline. They feel like they do enough. They'll make excuses. They'll be like, no, being disciplined. Set a goal, be disciplined to that goal.
People are time wasters, and the great majority of people have no goals, they have no priorities, they have no plans, they have no concern about becoming successful, and they think that you're the same. They think because their time isn't worth anything, that your time isn't worth anything also.
You're called upon to bring your best to the table no matter what happens to you, and to maintain your faith and your courage, and to aim up. There's no excuses. Your past trauma, there's no excuses. Doesn't matter what it is.
People don't like greatness. They envy it. Yeah. And that's the pressure you feel, because you want to prove them wrong so bad, but at the end of the day, you're really just trying to prove yourself right. So when you start to think about, the pressure and the hate and all of that stuff, it just adds on and it distracts you from where you're trying to go. But I knew I had to keep pushing. So every time I hit a milestone, it wasn't a celebration. It was just like, let's keep going.
Another step in the journey.
Because they waiting on us to fall off,
Imagine that you're in a movie, and imagine the movie begins now. And you're the hero of the movie.
Yeah.
What would that guy do?
Yeah.
What would that guy do right now?
Yeah.
Because you are.
We're not men because we face the battle and we get immediately victory every time a battle comes up. We're men because we face the battle and we stay in the battle when we feel like we're losing and we feel like we're getting beat up. But we stay in there and we keep fighting. And we plant our feet and we say, until death do I part, this is me and I will fight this battle, regardless of what the battle is.
And champions hold their heads high.
What you achieved goes way beyond the win-loss column or what's going to be written on the front page of the sports section tomorrow. You've achieved something that some people spend their whole lives trying to find. What you achieved is that ever-elusive victory within.
Stop questioning your purpose. Just know that whatever journey you're on, you can't be envious of somebody else. You can't look over in their yard and go, why ain't I rocking like that person? It's not your time. God don't want that to happen for you like that. You just keep doing what you doing, and there's no bad in your life. It's all good. Just be grateful along the way that God, trust God in this journey. He got you. Don't try to thirst to be nobody else. Just don't question when something bad happens to you. Just know that God's trying to make you stronger. And lastly, you know, just be grateful for who you are on this journey. Don't try to be anybody except you. I'm Marlon Wayans.
It's like when Kobe said, I was chasing perfection and excellence, even though I knew I would probably never catch it. But just the fact that I was willing to chase it, I would defeat most of my opponents because most of my opponents would never chase something that didn't have any guarantees attached to it. Chasing perfection and excellence, even though I knew I would never catch it. But he had the courage to chase it because he knew what it would turn him into. And most cats wouldn't even go down the course to chase it because it didn't have any guarantees attached to it.
Slaves worked all the hours they were awake for their entire lives. In American history, in Egyptian history, in the rest of the world that had slaves, which is most of the world at some given point. I think, like, if they can do it, so can I. Now you're like, well, did they have a happy existence? Well, they didn't get to pick the work they did, but it means that you can work. That's if you have the cat behind you. You can work every hour of the day. I'm like, well, if you get to have the cheese and you get to eat the cheese the whole way you're going, then, I mean, there's the famous quote, you know, the person who loves walking walks further than the person who loves the destination.
The reality of life is this: the world's relentless, and it will not stop beating your ass until you wake up and start beating it back. And, you know, when I see self-love and all, I do understand where they're coming from. Those people are talking to people who are on the brink, right? Yep. And they think their entire world's crumbling, and they're telling them it's okay. But I actually think that's the wrong message. I think the right message is this: hey, this is how it is if you don't go hard. This is what you're going to get if you do not try hard to develop yourself and get off the bench and get in the game. And I say that out of a place of love and caring for people.
He was like, champions are broken. We're like, huh. It's like people look at champions and try and find something that champion has that they don't have. And he's like, but it's not that at all. He's like, they lack something everyone else has, which is an off button. They just don't stop. And at the end of the day, like, if we're optimizing for outcomes, then the most broken person will win. The person who has the absolute biggest, you know, desire for achievement, the absolute biggest fear or pain that they're running away from, and the hardest impulse control. Now, impulse control, most people would agree, is a good thing. The other two, not as much. And so, what are we optimizing for? What problem are we solving? It's my favorite. It's probably the number one most frequently asked question that I ask to our portfolio companies whenever we're about to do anything, which is, what problem are we solving? If the problem that we're solving is that I want to be content, well, there's a lot of ways to do that. You don't need to do all these other things. If the problem you're solving is that you want to be the richest man in the world, well, you're going to have a lot of superiority complex. You're going to have a lot of crippling insecurity, and you're going to have a lot of impulse control, and you're going to have to wait a long time.
You need to work on yourself. If you just try to be pampered, and if you're trying to be soft, and if you're trying to be the victim and all stuff, you're not going to go anywhere. We need to get stronger. We need to get bossier. We need to get tougher. We need to not be afraid of failure. We got to go into the work. We got to face adversity. Adversity breeds character. It's strength and fighting and resistance. It does not only make the muscle grow, but it makes also your head grow, makes you a stronger person. We have to be willing to go through hardship, through suffering, through pain, through crying periods. All of that stuff, don't shy away from any of that, because it just makes you stronger.
You have to start with action. It needs to be, okay, what would have had to have happened in a week's time for me to look back on that week and find pride in myself? Maybe stop breaking promises to yourself. When you say, I'm going to wake up tomorrow at 7 a.m., And when the option comes to hit the snooze button, don't do it. There's one win that you've got for the day. That's action.
You can bet against me. Bet against me. Tell me it's not going to happen. Tell me it's going to fail. I love it. I love every minute of it.
Don't ever be ashamed of anything you've done in your life. Face it, fix it, make it better. We are humans. But then again, if you always think that we're humans, you will always just be a human and always make the same fucking mistakes. You must take this knowledge that you learn from all this shit is knowledge. So I'm just trying to give people that strength to go in the archives of your life. Because while you're probably fucked up, it's probably something happened to you in your life. Go through the archives, dig it up, study it, and then use it for yourself.
The path of the exceptional person is one of an exception, which means that you are not with other people. And rather than fighting that or bemoaning it, see it as an indicator that you're on the right path. Because if everyone else were cheering you on, then it means you're not in the right place, because it means you're just like everyone else, and that's not where you want to be.
I want to introduce y'all to this very simple concept. That if you want it, you got to go get it. Some of y'all got this concept of what you want to accomplish. You know, some of y'all are motivated by broke. I'm broke, I'm stuck, I'm fucked up, I can't do nothing. Some of y'all are motivated by just wanting to accomplish the things that you want to accomplish. Other folks are motivated by materialistic things. It's a very simple concept. If you want it, you gotta go get it.
Enjoy life. It's life is too short to get bogged down, to be discouraged, or you have to keep moving. You have to keep going. Put one foot in front of the other, smile, and just keep on rolling.
Most important key to success, I think it's hunger. It's not getting satisfied. Anyone you respect who's achieved at the highest level, intelligence is an incredibly important distinction and a valuable thing to have in life. But I always tell people, you can find so many intelligent people that can't fight their way out of a paper bag. What matters is hunger. A hunger that doesn't go, a hunger to learn, a hunger to grow, a hunger to serve, a hunger to give, a hunger to create breakthroughs.
I'm realizing that I have to daily show up for myself if I want my life to be what I want it to be.
Right.
It is a battle.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, but it's like you have to have some sort of a plan. When I used to be a little bit more aimless, I was just like, oh, I want things to be good. It wasn't enough.
But it's not about the money. It's not about the business. It's about your growth. Because every one of us either grows or dies. People ask me all the time, what does it take to be happy? I say one word, progress. Progress equals happiness. If you can decide that success is life on your terms, but it's also a meaningful life where you found something you care about more than yourself that you want to serve, whether it's your family or a community or a mission or your company, then you're blessed. And success is that experience of not only achievement, but fulfillment. And it can't be achieved unless you're growing and unless you're giving in ways that you're not positioning the giving. It's not what other people say, it's what you know in your soul. And I think if you can find those things inside yourself, they're not easy, but they're worth it. You'll have a life that will look like a dream to other people, and they'll all think you're lucky because we're all rewarded in public for what we've practiced continuously in private.
You have a great life in front of you, but your great life is in front of you. It's not behind you. What you did back there ain't got nothing to do with what God got for you. What you did back there was learn the lessons to get you to where you are at this particular moment right here. But what God got for you, do you know, man, that you can actually mess your life completely up? You can jack it all the way up and you can turn around and get it right.
Life is short, okay? And you can't go around life carrying baggage. You can't go around life carrying resentment. You just can't do it, it's too short. You know what I mean? So you have to forgive and move on.
I feel like when people hear this thing about failing, all they ever think about is the big failures. All they ever think about is the embarrassing failures or the ones that people see. But the ones that they don't see are just as valuable because they teach you lessons. So I would encourage you, instead of like listening to my failures, I mean, dude, look, I couldn't even tell you a failure because I failed 100 times for every public win that you guys have ever witnessed. So Like, and it's weird because people think, oh man, they did this or they did that. That guy's super smart. No, I was just willing to try every other way until this worked. All right. And that's the attitude that we have to have. And yeah, when you've been doing it for 25 years and you've done pretty well because you're willing to go out and get smashed in the face over and over and over again with bad ideas or bad thoughts or mistakes until you find the right one, people are going to think you're a genius, which is kind of cool, but it's not the truth. The truth is I'm an idiot just like all you guys. I don't know what the I'm doing, but I am willing to do this. I am willing to try it this way, try it that way, try it this other way. Those 3 didn't work. I got killed on those 3. I try it this way now, this new way. And I will keep going until I figure out how to make it work. And I don't give a fuck about what Joe from the old neighborhood has to say or Stacy, the ex-girlfriend. I don't give a shit. Fuck them. I care about getting where I'm trying to go.
It's not a good idea to dwell in the past, to constantly think about this loss that you've suffered. Instead, you have to remember the people that you've lost, but you have to move forward. You have to move forward with your life. I can guarantee you right now, the friends and brothers that I lost, the absolute last thing that they would want me to do would be to sit around for the rest of my life and mourn for their loss. In fact, the absolute opposite is true. What they would want me to do would be to go out and live the best possible life I can, and that's what I try and do.
I think one of the biggest mistakes people generally make, and I'm guilty of it too, is wishful thinking. You know, like you want something to be true, even if it isn't true. And so you ignore the things that, you ignore the real truth because of what you want to be true. This is a very difficult trap to avoid. And like I said, it's certainly one that I find myself in having problems with. But if you just take that approach of you're always to some degree wrong and your goal is to be less wrong.
Your life was basically the perfect grounds for training for where you need to go in your life. All the beatings, all the bullying, all the, you going through learning disabilities, all the struggles, it was the absolute perfect training ground for you to go to where you need to go. And that's how I started looking at my life versus woe is me, poopy pants, kick a rock down the street mentality. It was, nah, God just hooked you right the fuck up.
What can I do to be happy?
Number one, you have to own your own happiness. Take it away from other people demanding that they make you happy. Your kids are not going to make you happy. Your spouse is not going to make you happy. A big house is not going to make you happy. Own your own happiness and be responsible for doing those things that bring joy into your own heart, independently of life and people and money and all of that stuff. Right. It doesn't necessarily give you a happiness. You have to take responsibility of that peace and that joy that lives inside of your heart and not inside of your stuff.
Gratitude's an excellent practice, man.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of arrogance and resentment. I think it's a great thing to become an expert at. And I think that you can allow yourself happiness if you're grateful.
So I don't care if I fail. I don't care if 1 million people see it. I don't care if 10 million people see it. I don't care if it's just me seeing it. But I have programmed my mind to look at every situation to determine, did I get the best possible outcome there? And if I didn't get the best possible outcome, how do I improve my technique to get the best possible outcome? And I do this in my life. I do this in my business. I do this in my training. It is a mindset that you must have.
Life is a range of emotions. Yeah. To not want to experience something, one, is inevitable, but two, it's the fear of the pain that comes attached to that you don't want. When you understand that that's naturally a part of life, you embrace it and you navigate through it because that's what life has to offer you. And the fact that you're alive and you get to experience it is the gift, whether it at the time seems enjoyable or not. You chase things that you can't catch. You don't chase things that belong to you. Yeah. Right? So people chase happiness because they think that that's what they need, when in reality, happiness is just a byproduct of becoming the best version of yourself. So instead of chasing the emotion, become the type of person that is experiencing that emotion, and you can be in that state more consistently.
Feeling stuck is a signal that you've stopped growing. That's it. And when most people feel stuck, since they don't understand that it's tied to a fundamental need for growth, we believe it's an existential crisis and we blow up our lives. For most human beings, what actually will get you feeling like you're not stuck is having something in the future that you're looking forward to. Learning anything gets you back in touch with a fundamental need. It makes you start to feel like things are moving. And from that place of feeling a little bit more empowered, you'll be able to make better decisions about what big things need to change in your life.
If you have the ability to continue to try new things and understand that the things that didn't work, you're not going to repeat, you're not going to make the same mistake twice, and you have the ability to continue down the path for as long as it fucking takes, bro, you can't fail. It's fucking impossible.